Hey gang, and welcome back. These videos are brought to you by Card Conduit, the best place to sell your unused collection fast and easily. 401 Games, Canada's top shop for all your hobby and TCG needs. Dragon Shield, the strongest sleeves for your strongest decks. Moxfield, the easiest way to store and share your deck lists. And Foil Armor, flatten your foils fast. Arja wins the die roll and starts us off. He draws, playing a swamp, and has a sweet turn 1 play with Gutter Bones, and passes to Matt. Metchia plays a tap-fetted Pools. Max draws, playing a mountain, and passing. John's got an island for turn, and he casts Soul Ring. He then plays it on Mox Diamond, discarding an island. We then see a turn 1 Atari Wizard Adept, and he passes to Arja. Arja draws, and plays a Plains. He swings Gutter Bones at John, who takes the hit for 2. Arja's second main phase then has a Priest of Fell Rites, and he passes to Matt. Metchia plays an island and passes. Max plays a mountain and pays 2 for Thought Vessel. John draws, playing a Nykthos for turn, and then casts Blind Seer. Metchia is ready though, mana draining it, and John passes after his commander is countered. Arja plays an Exotic Orchard for turn, and brings out Breena. Going to combat, Arja swings Gutter Bones at Metchia and the Priest at Max, with Arja getting some Breena triggers to put 2 +1/+1 counters onto each of the attacking creatures, and draws 2. Max and Metchia then take their hits, with Arja passing. Metchia draws, and in his pre-combat main phase, gets 4 colorless mana from Mana Drain. He uses 3 of it to cast a Burnished Heart, and passes after it resolves. Max's turn has a mountain coming in, and he casts an Emberwild Captain. This has Max becoming the Monarch, and he passes turn, drawing during his end step. John's got an island, and he casts a Ponder, pondering his orb. He then casts a Robe of the Archmagi, and equips it onto Atari before going to combat. John makes a deal with Metchia to hit him with Atari, and Metchia agrees, taking the 1 so John can draw a card. After that, John passes. Arja's got a Plains, and he casts Scheming Symmetry, and picks Max to tutor with him. This has them both tutoring a card to the top, and Arja then goes to combat. He sends Gutter Bones at Max, the Priest at John, and Breena goes at Metchia. Arja targets his Gutter Bones and Priest again to gain the counters, and draw 2 cards, but before that happens, resolves the Emberwild Captain trigger, taking 7. He then puts the counters onto his creatures, and draws 2. In his post-combat main phase, Arja then casts a Keen Duelist. He's also taken the Monarchy from Max, and draws during his end step, while he passes. Also during the end step, Matt sacrifices the Burnished Heart to go and find 2 basics. Metchia draws, and in his main phase, casts a Dark Ritual to help power out his commander with Sauron. He passes after that. Max draws and plays a mountain, and then casts a Goldspan Dragon. Going to combat, he swings the Goldspan at Arja, with Max regaining the Monarchy. After combat, Max then plays out a Ruby Medallion, and passes. During the end step, John casts a Mystical Tutor, and puts a Washout on top of his library. John draws, and casts the Washout, naming Black. This has Metchia responding with Slip Out the Back, and targets his commander, who phases out. All black permanents are then bounced back to their respective owners' hands, and Max lets John take the Monarchy since he didn't wash out his board, and John pokes him for 1 with Atari. This has John also drawing a card from the Robe of the Archmagi. Moving to his end step, he then draws from being the Monarch, and passes. Arja also cycles an Ash Barrens to go and find a basic. Arja's turn has been playing a Swamp, and then casting Sholdred. This has Max and John sacrificing a creature, and Arja then passes turn. Matt draws and casts Soul Ring. His commanders phase back in at this point, and he swings Sauron at John for 8 to take the Monarchy. Metchia then moves to his end step, drawing from it, and passing. Max's turn has a Spine Rock Knoll which comes in tapped, and he hides away a card. He then casts his own Soul Ring. We then see Dragonhawk coming in, and Max exiles his top 2. Going to combat, he swings the Goldspan Dragon at Metchia, taking back the Monarchy. It connects, and Max becomes the Monarch again. He then moves to his end step, drawing a card from being the Monarch, and dealing 4 to each of his opponents as the cards exiled with Dragonhawk go to the graveyard. John draws and casts High Seas, and follows that by playing a Spectral Shift to make the green text into black on it. After that, John passes. Arja draws and casts one of his signature cards with an Esper Sentinel. He follows up by recasting Breena from hand, and then goes to combat. He swings shoulder at Mathieu, and gets to put 2+1/+1 counters from Breena's trigger on the Esper Sentinel. Mathieu then takes it, and in his post-combat main phase, Arja then plays a Swamp, and casts Glitter Lens, and passes. Mathieu draws and goes to combat, swinging Sauron, and the army token that's been growing when his opponents cast spells at Arja. Arja chumps Sauron with the Rebel token, and the army connects, which has the ring tempting Mathieu. Thematically, he makes Sauron the ring bearer, and he passes after that. Max draws and casts a Bloodsworn Steward in his main phase, and he then goes to combat. He swings the Goldspan Dragon at Mathieu, and Dragonhawk at Arja. With his on-attack trigger, Max gets to exile his top 3, and they both then take their hits. In his second main phase, Max then casts a Flaming Tyrannosaurus. He then follows up with Lightning Greaves from exile, and gets to deal 3 damage to Breena from the Flaming Tyrannosaurus. Max then goes for the end step, drawing from being the Monarch, and bins the other card in exile to deal 2 to each opponent from Dragonhawk. John just draws and taps enough to cast Gadwick where X is 3, drawing 3 cards and passing. Arja's got an invasion of Gobakan in his main phase, and has Mathieu defend it, looking at Mathieu's hand and exiling a card from it. With the targeting on the stack, Mathieu responds by overloading Cyclonic Rift, but Arja still gets to take a card from his hand. Arja then continues by recasting Sholdred, and as it comes in, Mathieu is forced to get rid of his commander. With nothing else, Arja passes. Mathieu draws and goes to combat, swinging his now massive and unopposed army at Max to take the Monarchy after he deals 11 to him. Mathieu then casts a Disciple of Bolas in his second main phase, which as it comes in, has him sacrificing the army, drawing 11 cards and gaining 11 life. Mathieu then plays an island for turn, and he casts a Curse of Opulence onto Max. He then plays a Mana Vault, and uses it to help play and then sacrifice a Wayfarer's Bauble, going to find a basic. With nothing else, Mathieu moves to his end step, drawing a card from being the Monarch, and then discarding down to 7. Max draws and replays his Soul Ring, and then taps it to replay the Ruby Medallion. He then recasts a Goldspan Dragon, but Mathieu counters it with Counterspell. With that, Max passes turn. John draws and plays an island, and then recasts the Mox Diamond, pitching another island. He then recasts his Soul Ring, and then casts Preordain, scrying 2, and then drawing a card. He then replays the Blind Seer, and passes turn. Arja draws, and replays an Esper Sentinel, and goes to combat. This time he swings Shoulder at Max, which has he and Mathieu both gaining a gold token. Arja then casts a Dark Ritual after combat, and uses the mana to help flip Shouldered. As she transforms into the True Scriptures, he destroys the Blind Seer and Disciple of Bolas. Arja then casts a Case of the Stashed Skeleton. With nothing else, he passes. Mathieu loses 1 from his tapped Mana Vault and draws for turn. He plays a Shivan Reef, and then recasts Sauron. He then moves to his end step, drawing from being the Monarch, and passes. Also during his end step, Max casts Chaos Warp on the flipped Shouldered. This has Arja shuffling her in, and then revealing off the top a Teysa Opulent Oligarch. Max draws and replays Dragonhawk, exiling a Tibboleth's Trickery off the top, and then casts Lightning Greaves from his hand. Mathieu responds with a Fierce Guardianship and targets the Greaves, and Max uses the Trickery to counter it. Max rolls to see how many cards Mathieu will mill, which is 3, and Mathieu then reveals until he hits Kai's ghost form, which he puts onto Sauron, and the Greaves then resolve. Max then moves to equip them onto Dragonhawk, and Mathieu casts Dig Through Time in response after delving some cards. He doesn't find anything though, but Arja is ready with the Swords to Plowshares, and targets Dragonhawk. This has his commander getting exiled, but Max does gain some life. Max then continues by recasting the Bloodstorm Steward, and equipping it with the Lightning Greaves instead, and he then goes to combat. He swings the Steward at Matt, connecting and taking the Monarchy back. He then passes, drawing during his end step. John draws, plays an island, and recasts Robe of the Archmagi. He then recasts Gadwick, putting 2 into the X, drawing 2 cards, and once he's out, re-equips the robes onto him, and passes. Arja casts Vampiric Tutor in his upkeep, losing 2 to put a card on top, and then draws it for turn. He then plays Shoulder again, surprise, and gets rid of Sauron and Gadwick. but Sauron comes back because of Kaya's ghost form. Arja then goes to combat. He swings the skeleton at Max for 2, and he takes it and loses the monarchy. Arja then casts Path to Exile and targets Sauron, and sacrifices Shuldred to pay for its ward cost. Mathieu gets to still pump up his army, and the commander is then exiled to find a basic. Arja then moves to his end step, drawing from being the monarch. Matt draws and plays a Dragon Skull Summit, and goes straight to combat. He swings the army token at Arja, who gets blocked by Teysa. In his second main phase, Mathieu then plays Black Sun's Twilight, putting 5 into the X, taking out the Esper Sentinel, and reanimating his Disciple of Bolas. With the Disciple coming in, we experience some deja vu, as Mathieu once more sacrifices his army, but this time only draws 10 and gains 10. Mathieu then continues with an Arcane Signet, and then a Rakdos Signet, and then moves to discard, pitching down to 7. Max draws and recasts Dragonhawk, and as his commander comes in, exiles his top card. He then gears up Dragonhawk with the Lightning Greaves, and going to combat, swings him at Mathieu. This has Max exiling his top card again. Mathieu then takes the hit, and after combat, Max plays Plarg and Nassari, and then moves to equip them with the Lightning Greaves. He then passes, and during his end step, the 2 cards in exile go to his graveyard and deal 4 to his opponents. John draws and plays Chill, and then replays the High Seas. He continues with an Arcane Signet, and then plays a Sword of War and Peace. He passes after that. Arja draws and plays Sol Ring, and then once more casts Invasion of Gobakan. As it comes in, he targets Mathieu with it, to make him defend it, and Mathieu once more has a response by flashing in Orcish Bowmasters, and pinging Arja for 1, and making an army token. This has Arja exiling Terminate from Mathieu's hand, and he then casts Elish Norn, and goes to combat. He swings the skeleton of the invasion to defeat it, and exiles it, casting it as Light Shield Array. Arja then passes, drawing from being the monarch. Mathieu draws, playing a Temple of the False God, and then casts the One Ring. He gains protection from everything until his next turn, and he activates it, putting a counter onto it to draw 1. Mathieu then recasts Sauron, and passes. Max's Plarg and Nassari triggers, and he picks Arja, who denies him the chance to cast Urabras Heretic Praetor. Max then casts an Archivist of Ogma, and the Amiiboid Changeling off Plarg and Nassari, but they're both immediately put to graveyard from the static effect of Elish Norn. Max then draws for turn, and in his main phase casts a Flaming Tyrannosaurus again. He then passes to John. John's got an island, and casts Baral. He then moves the Sword of War and Peace onto it, and passes. Arja's turn has him playing a Duelist Heritage, and he goes to combat. He swings the skeleton at John, giving it Double Strike, which has John taking 10. After that, Arja draws from being the monarch, and gets to put a counter onto his skeleton from the Light Shield Array. Mathieu loses 1 from the ring, and draws for turn, and in his main phase, taps the ring to put another counter onto it to draw 2 more. He plays an Exotic Orchard, and then casts Oubliette and targets Elish Norn. With the ability targeting her, Arja sacrifices Light Shield Array to protect her, but John responds by casting Cyclonic Rift to bounce Elish Norn. Arja responds to this, casting Stroke of Midnight and targeting Sauron. With the ward trigger on the stack, Mathieu casts Terminate from Exile, paying the extra, and as a result, Arja can't pay the ward cost, and the spell is then fizzled. Mathieu then goes to combat, and he swings Sauron at Arja, taking him out, and we then move to Max's turn. Max's turn has Plarg and Nassari triggering, and he picks John this time, who denies him Neheb the Eternal. Max does cast Douse and Jin-Gitaxias, and thanks to his triggers from the Tyrannosaurus, deals 6 to Mathieu, and then draws for turn. He then moves the Lightning Greaves onto Jin-Gitaxias, and goes to combat, swinging everything at Mathieu. Dragonhawk triggers, exiling his top 4 cards, and before blocks, Max casts a Delayed Blast Fireball from exile. This has John getting immediately taken out, and Mathieu taking 5 and then 3 from the Tyrannosaurus. Without any ways to block, Mathieu then gets taken out, and Max wins the game. Game review time. So considering this playgroup, this was a bit of a long game sitting at 1 hour and 25 minutes, and I was really surprised with John's start how much he fizzled out. He was able to bounce most of the boards a couple times with Cyclonic Rift and Washout though, and there was a really strong amount of removal in this game. Considering 3 of the 4 decks were bracket 4, it was surprising to see that Dragonhawk won, but I think that Max's getting through with all the damage and extra card draw in mono red with Dragonhawk was probably what's helped him the most. That being said, I think Dragonhawk was probably the best card this game for him. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, but it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.